Your site might look slick, but if it's slow, let's be honest, you're probably losing leads. People are not going to wait around for your beautifully designed website to load, no matter how proud you are of it, which means that a way for you to increase conversions, or at least not lose them, and if you want to increase engagement and trust, is to put speed at the top of your priority list. Now here is the cold truth, just a 1-second delay can kill your conversions by up to 7%. Slow websites don't just lose visitors, they lose credibility and sales. And even if you're using a fast theme like Thrive Theme Builder, there's always more that you can do as you level up. So let me show you how to go from my site does pretty good to pro level performance. In this video, I'm going to walk you through probably the most advanced optimization strategy that you can implement on your site for speed, which is a CDN. More specifically, we're going to be looking at Bunny CDN to give your WordPress site that instant feel users love without sacrificing your design or losing control. Now, what is a CDN? Well, it stands for Content Delivery Network, and in order for you to understand what a CDN is, I want you to imagine your website cloned to dozens of servers worldwide. So users everywhere, no matter where they are located, get your content from the fastest, closest location and not from wherever your single main host has their servers located. That's what a CDN does. And Bunny.net actually makes it super easy, affordable, and actually perfect for WordPress and Thrive Suite websites. All right, so the first thing that I want you to do is to obviously sign up for a Bunny account. That's not going to cost you anything, and we're going to talk about costs and how much it actually costs to have a CDN up and running for your website. But for now, I kind of want to just get the infrastructure part of setting this whole process up ready for you. So the first thing is obviously sign up for a Bunny account. The next thing that I want you to do is to go to the back end of your WordPress website, and I want you to look for, go inside plugins, and I want you to look for the Bunny CDN plugin. So if you type in Bunny, the official Bunny plugin should show up here, Bunny.net WordPress CDN plugin. I want you to just install that plugin. And once you've done that, you'll see that there's a little caret here showing up. It says Bunny.net as well in the left-hand toolbar. And if you go inside that little caret, you're going to see that you have a bunch of different options to connect your Bunny account to your WordPress website. So the first thing that you want to do is inside your Bunny dashboard, and once you sign up for an account, you're going to be redirected to the overview page. This is what that looks like. When you click on your little icon here on the left-hand upper side of the toolbar and go inside account settings, API key, and I want you to just copy the API key to your clipboard. Go back to your WordPress site and just paste that API key here. And that's actually not fully 100% required to connect your WordPress website to your Bunny account, but it is going to allow you to do things like modify the settings or purge the caching for some of your zones and stuff like that. So it's a good practice to just get the API key connected there. Now, let's jump back into Bunny, and the next thing that you're going to be wanting to do is jump into the CDN settings. Bunny is actually pretty good for more than just doing content delivery network. You can use it to store videos, pictures, files, whatever you want, but let's actually focus on CDN for the purpose of this video. So the first thing that you should do is create a new pull zone for your account. And the easiest way, the concept behind pull zones, to be honest, is a little bit confusing. I don't know why they're using that specific choice of words because it is a little bit confusing, okay? I want you to think of pull zones as just the origin of where Bunny is going to be retrieving files that is going to ultimately be serving through all of its servers, aka your website. Your pull zone is essentially just your website. What is the domain of your site? That is going to be your pull zone. So in this case, you can just give it a name. So I usually just give it whatever the domain name of my site is. So in this case, my blog is Louis Tony. I already have a pull zone name that is using that, but just go ahead and give it a name. And then for the origin URL, this is where you're going to simply type in the domain of your site. So in my case, it would be louistony.com. And that's it. You can just power through with the default settings, to be honest. Unless you're running a website where you're getting hundreds of thousands of views, you're probably going to be fine with the standard tier. And again, we're going to be talking about costs in a second. Once you've done that, just create the pull zone and let's move on to the next step. Once you've created your pull zone, you can go inside the settings for that pull zone. You don't actually need a custom host name. So what this means is that if you go inside the code of your site, there will be references to Bunny. Your files will show up as being pulled from, lewistony.b-cdn.net. If you wanted those files to not show as if they're coming in from Bunny and they're coming in directly from your domain, then you could create a CNAME record inside GoDaddy that points to Bunny, and that will take care of that. Honestly, I've never done that myself because very rarely does anyone actually look at the code of my sites. But if that's something that you're interested in doing, then you can absolutely do that. There's honestly not a whole lot more that you gotta do inside Bunny. At this point, you're pretty much good to go. You can just copy the URL of your pull zone, and let's jump back into WordPress. Inside your CDN configuration on WordPress, I want you to make sure that you include at least the WP-content directory and WP-includes. This means that you're essentially telling Bunny, hey, I want you to make sure that any media files or any kind of files that are hosted on my WordPress website, I want you to make sure that you parse those through Bunny so that they're delivered as quickly as possible to my end users. For the CDN hostname, here is where you're going to want to select the pull zone that we created. Just make sure that you pick out the right URL. And now, important, I have WP Rocket installed on my WordPress website. This is serving as my browser caching. It is important that we tell WP Rocket inside those settings. And you could be using WP Rocket, you could be using Flying Press, a different sort of caching provider. There's usually inside all of them a part where you can tell that browser cache that you're using a CDN. In this case, WP Rocket, for example, makes it super easy for them to let them know that, hey, I am using a content delivery network, and you can just tell them that you're using. Well, you can just give it your pull zone URL, the origin URL of Bunny, and just tell them, hey, I'm running all of these media files through Bunny. Just so you know. Here inside WP Rocket, you could specify if you only want to do images, if you want to do CSS and JavaScript. In my case, I'm running all of my files through Bunny because it just speeds things up really fast. And if I go into an incognito window, let's just see how fast that was. Pretty quickly. And I'm loading quite a few things on my site. I've got warm welcome. I've got a bunch of different scripts that I'm actually loading on page load, and that's still pretty fast. And if you want to switch, yeah, that's pretty much instant. I don't think that you can get much faster than that. But again, this is using a combination of Bunny, caching, and lazy loading images as well. Now, really quick, let's talk about cost, because I want you to get a good understanding of how cheap Bunny is. I'm serving traffic from all of these different zones: Africa, Europe, the US, Asia, and all I'm paying for is between 1 cent and 5 cents for every gigabyte of content that users download from any of these servers. And this is nuts. I mean, really, because chances are that your pages are anywhere between 1 megabyte and 2 megabytes in size, or at least they should be, and they should be closer to 1 megabyte in size. And if my math isn't incorrect, this means that if your main page where people land on your site is 1 megabyte in size, for every 1,000 visitors, you're going to be paying only between 1 and 5 cents. That's how cheap a CDN can be, and why it's so worth having one up and running on your site. And look, this is why all of this works so well together, especially if you're a Thrive Suite user. You see, Thrive Theme Builder sites are built for speed out of the gate, and when you add a robust CDN on top of other things like caching and lazy loading, you get silky smooth performance without having to deal with any kind of hacks or headaches. By the way, I do have a really slick video on browser caching and server-side caching in case you want to check that out. So if you want your site to feel fast and perform like the pros out there, a good CDN is a must. You deserve a website where speed builds trust, and trust is ultimately going to lead to conversions, which I would imagine is what you want. If you need help or if you want recommendations for plugins that work perfectly with Thrive, just drop your questions below. I'm always happy to help you build a faster, better business. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.